Hello, all you spry tubers out there. Welcome to Dames of Thrones Season 1 Edition, where filmmaker, gamer extraordinaire, and behind the scenes awesomeness known as Sesh, and the writing and directing sensation known as Maria talk shop on Game of Thrones. As for me, I'm Jonathan, and unlike our two experts, have no industry experience whatsoever, but I like to think of myself as Ned Stark. I'm loyal, just, and there's no way I'm making it to season 2 of this show. And now to your Dames of Thrones, Sesh and Maria. Woo!
Woohoo! But yeah, we have a small list, a little questionnaire we've been filling out as we've been rewatching the seasons. From your rewatch, you guys taking notes, maybe. So we're gonna just go through, and since we've all answered these questions, we're gonna answer them aloud.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
So first off, I want to talk about some of our favorite characters that were introduced. I say this season, but this is literally the intro to everything. Who are some of your favorites?
So it's hard to have favorites of main characters, I feel, in this season. That's why I like the side character, Sirio. I think he just emanates goodness and kindness and just spends his time in like a pure space of teaching. And I think it's beautiful.
Aw, the water dancer.
Yes.
Yeah, he was a good character. He was a good character. Going back to our first wild theories, he might still be alive.
Yeah.
Or he might be
Jack and Hagar.
Yes. It makes sense.
Spoilers.
That would make me so happy.
We're in season 1, guys.
No, he's Ned Stark.
He's Ned Stark.
He's Ned Stark. Yes, yeah, he was one of my favorites too. Like, he was just instantly lovable. Like, immediately, as soon as his very first scene, the very first line, it's like, oh, I like this guy. And then, yeah, I mean, I have a few different characters, but I don't want to hog.
Oh, no worries. Go ahead. For me, I mean, it was a little bit more difficult because season 1, I really didn't like many of the characters. It was somewhat hard to get into the show originally for me. I think season 2 things picked up a lot more, where I was really on board. But there seemed more unlikable characters than likable characters. That said, the two characters I think I enjoyed the most is I really enjoyed Jorah, who I mean, instant friend zone, but he seemed like the more nice, decent guy in Game of Thrones who, just wants to be loved.
Misunderstood.
And no, I liked him. I could identify with him a little bit. And then the other one was actually, and this might surprise you guys, but Eddard Stark. I liked Eddard Stark. I'm like, wow, this guy is pretty dumb as a box of rocks. But,
shocking.
He's endearing to me. He wants to do what's right. I'm sure it will go well for him.
Sure, yes. But yeah, there was, I mean, for me, like, Serial, of course, like we just talked about, he was so instantly charming. I'm always partial towards tomboys, so Arya, like, she is very bratty, and it does get on my nerves. Like, why does she have to be so bratty? I love her, like, damn it. But Tyrion, though, like, he's instantly, like, I had so much fun with him at all times. He was like, I was so entertained by him right out of the gate.
Yeah, no, Tyrion's great. I mean, overall, I think he is actually the best character in Game of Thrones. I was gonna leave him off this time, just to get the hate from everybody. But no, he's fantastic.
He's the character who knows how to keep it real, I think. He says exactly what's on everybody's mind.
Oh, yes.
Unapologetically.
Yeah, I love it, and he does it with so much humor. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and this show really, really needs it. I mean, there are some dark, dark things that happen in this show, and I think those moments that do capture that more lighthearted stuff actually pop even more because of it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not really a comedy as a show, but in fact, you can probably compress all the funny moments in this show to like a 2-minute video. But
I bet it'd be a little bit longer.
We tried watching some funniest moments that people compiled on YouTube, and they were all just blatant rape jokes or
yes, they were. I should not laugh at
wow.
murder.
It's true.
It wasn't funny.
No,
So
it was
and
not.
so one video tried to make it funny by adding like doo 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 to the same rape jokes. Like
No. Ugh. Ew.
It was terrible. Like this, who thinks that's funny? They should go to jail if they do.
Oh God, with a humor like that, yeah, that's awful.
Yeah, we just lost 75% of our viewing audience. I just saw the numbers right down.
We don't find these funny. We do not find them.
No.
Wait, but what if could we get those fans back if like we added the music ourselves?
I'm sure. I mean, everybody loves that doo 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 in the background. I mean, just an hour straight of that. In fact, I want to say that it was probably that song that led to some of those deep dark
jokes
episodes we saw this season.
Oh boy.
Mm-hmm.
That's dark. Okay, moving on.
Yes.
So again, this one, introduces everything. So there's so much to introduce. But let's go into our most hated characters. Who did you guys hate the most?
Oh, well, definitely Joffrey. Joffrey is the most hateable man on the planet, I would say. Man-child, yeah.
I don't even think you could call him a man-child. I mean, he got slapped a lot in season 1.
Like all my favorite moments.
Oh gosh. Yeah, and then of course Jaime, because Jaime just cold-heartedly pushes Bran out of the window,
You're saying Bran didn't deserve it? Oh my gosh. Wow.
Peeping Toms get what they deserve.
Have you met Bran? I mean.
Oh gosh.
All right, what about you?
Well, for me, serious answer and non-serious answer. I mean, serious answer, definitely Viserys. I mean, he was a jerk the whole time. I mean, every moment he whined like nothing else. I don't want to say ruined every scene with Daenerys and the Dothraki, but he came pretty close to ruining every scene at least. And I think probably by at least the second or third episode of the show, I'm like, can somebody please kill this guy? Like, I don't really want to deal with him for another several seasons. He sort of got what was coming to him, though, huh? Just a little bit.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And but more humorously, honestly, he was made to be hated. Character that was not made to be hated, I mean, maybe she was, but I I think it was I think it was Sansa. I really did not like Sansa in season 1. She's
awful in season 1. Oh gosh.
She was so terrible, and
you guys need to give her a break.
When you Sesh, when you said that Arya was your favorite character, I really liked Arya. She was fun, she was free-spirited, she went around, she wanted to basically be a soldier and, ride a horse, fire arrows and stuff like that, and she's just playing around, and Sansa was really mean to her most of the season, and at the same time it's like, man, you are so unlikable.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, I don't. So Sansa is a kid trying to grow up. She was told, she was groomed from birth. You're gonna be a princess. This is how you could learn to knit. This is your big thing. That's your only skill in life. Just get a man and knit. That's your life goal. She was told this and she believed it and she's like, fine. So she's confused when all this stuff happens and she doesn't know what to do. She's too young to understand. I
I
think she's
mean,
just young.
there was on rewatch, it's that's her in like maybe season 2. Season 1, she's like really, really snotty. She's just mean to everyone every chance she gets. Everything and everyone she's nice to is all just for selfish reasons. It's like she's really bad. It's really, really hard to watch, and it's like no wonder like she was picked on so much by her sister. Like she's just so mean and snotty, and she's not even my most hated. Like honestly, honestly, like yeah, like Joffrey or like Danny's brother, like he was like comically bad. Like how was like like he was like just such like a absurd human. He was so awful. And then Joffrey, of course, he's like another little bratty child, but like he just seemed like he was a brat. Like Sansa, like even like took stuff out on like her old like handmaid, like her old handmaiden, like back from the
That's
Oh
true.
yeah,
Winterfell
yeah,
That's
too.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
She
man,
is
yeah.
like, you wear your hair different. This is how they wear it down here. Oh, whatever. I bet. Do you even have hair under there? Well, yes, I do. Would you like to see it? No, nobody cares. Like, oh, what a brat.
But
Mm-hmm.
you can see it's because she's young and confused. I think yes, she's bratty, but not at heart.
I don't think confused at this time in her life, though. Like, I'd honestly just say, like,
You don't think
very, like, her, like, dreams are coming true. So she's, like, insanely entitled. And her
so?
dreams were, like, kind of blessed to begin with, probably. I mean, like, yes,
True.
to be
True.
royalty, cool, but, like, I mean, it was kind of, it was kind of a dream. I think she wasn't in that reality yet, like it was just like, oh, she'll marry some lord and she'll be a nice mother of 20 sons and all of that, dull stuff. But then like, oh look, here's the king, you're gonna marry the future king. Like that like changed her. I think she got like extra obtuse and like snotty because of it.
Well, I think she did it because she felt in over her head. Like she's from basically a small northern town, and now when the reality is starting to come,
Whoa, whoa, whoa. That is the largest northern town.
well, it's small. It's small compared
It,
to King's
King's
Landing.
Landing. Yeah, yeah,
She's
yeah,
in
yeah.
over her head, so now she's even more standoffish because she's afraid.
I don't think there was any of that fear or anything until stuff started to go awry, which is like season 2, really. Like there wasn't, I think she was just entitled and bratty in season 1. Like she didn't have any fear or any cares in the world other than herself. So I think at the same time, like there was all this other stuff happening around her and she wasn't paying attention to it because she was too self-centered.
Well, okay. I think there's two different kinds of fear. I think fear in season 1 was of not living up to the standards of Cersei. She looked up to Cersei. She wanted to be good enough. And I think she was afraid of not being good enough, so she had to act a certain way. I think that's the fear I'm talking about.
Okay, I could see that. Act more like Cersei, which she did.
I will say it is a little bit a little bit realistic though. I mean, she came from a really nice family. I mean, honestly, Eddard Stark, Catelyn,
Yeah.
her whole brothers, in terms of Rob and John, and her sister as as well in terms of Arya. So she sort of grew up fiercely non-northern in this series. Like most of the northerners we've seen, at least early on in the show, seem to be pretty good. I don't want to say like Midwestern type people, but like come in, have some.
Why?
Exactly.
No hardship, no deceit, no lying, none of that.
Yeah, now
Yeah.
granted, later on we find out that that's not exactly true. That,
Yeah.
that the Northerners aren't necessarily like the good people of the story, but there's good and bad wherever you go. But
Ooh.
yeah.
I have the word for this.
Oh.
Ooh, this is good because I don't, as I said, I am not an industry expert.
I don't know if this counts as industry, but I just call this a case of being very sheltered.
Ah, that is a good word.
Yeah, so that okay. So I mean, that honorable mentions, I guess, for Sansa. All right, I think we all have it. What's our saddest moment from this season? Which most people are probably going to have the same answer, and it's okay. You could give that answer too if you want.
Oh yeah. Poor Ned.
Yeah. I mean, I'll still say he had it coming. Like I could see it coming from a mile away. I don't, it definitely is the saddest moment, but I really do think that there was a lot of sadness in um basically Arya having to witness that.
Oh,
Actually,
Yeah.
that seemed the
that was
worst,
the
even more
worst.
than Sansa, because Sansa, you're like, really, like you know.
She's learning the ways of the big city.
Yeah.
Yep.
Welcome. But Arya, it's sort of like she was more a kid before
Yeah.
that, and she
No.
went from that likable tomboy, who just wants to have fun and play around and play swords with all the boys. That
Yeah.
sounded really weird. We might have to cut that in post a little bit.
Her needle.
Yeah, but
Yeah, she played with like peasant boys
that's
too.
right.
Like, how
Right.
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice. And after that, she just turned into a cold-blooded serial killer. Which, so,
Yeah.
Maria, that's right. There we go.
Yeah, I mean that definitely I think really, really did add to the sadness of it that they were there. I think that was really huge. I was definitely like, I mean, not surprised. Like I remember a lot of people talking about it, like, wow, I really thought somebody would save him right there. I'm like, no, once that was the sentence, I like 100% knew that that was definitely what was going to happen. One, because everyone says this is like a good book and a good story. And two, like, how in the hell not? He played so dumb.
Yeah, we can actually add this as a question later or deal with this now. But there were some moments in the show, like, or in any show, TV or movie or otherwise, where you basically are left saying something along the lines of, why? Like,
Yeah.
why? And that moment for me was the moment where he like goes to Cersei and
Yeah.
he like
Here's
lays
all
out
my
his
evidence.
whole law and order plan. It's like, and you had incest with your brother. And I'm going to tell everybody. We're going to make sure he's never on the throne,
and
and they're going to put you somewhere, lock you up.
and
And
she just
now I'm
resists.
going to walk away for like a
Unscathed.
week,
Like
and I'm sure
this,
everything's going to turn out fine.
right? He literally just laid all of his cards out there for her to see, and she's basically just like resisting, saying like, "Peasant, I know," and like that's it. like why is he going to the most dangerous person and telling her this? Like, no surprise attack, no surprise anything. Like, oh my gosh, it's so dumb. He's so dumb, so dumb.
See, that's what I love about the first scene with him is that it really sets up who he is. He doesn't see any gray, just black and white. Oh, even though the man came with none of the other people because they're all dead, saying he saw White Walkers, he still has to kill him because of the law. Like he sees nothing beyond black and white.
So dumb.
Yeah. Well, that's how Jorah got sent away too.
Oh, yeah.
Some people were trying to steal him, so he sold them into slavery, and then he wasn't allowed back in the West. He clearly would have solved all these issues.
Of course.
But yeah, no, I mean, that moment, like, you go with him to King's Landing and you're like, okay, he might be actually learning something, where he's investigating this death of John Aaron. Like, what happened to him? And going from place to place and finding out the big secret, quote unquote,
Mm-hmm.
And then he just, throws it all away. And then he decides, like, I think it was the very next episode or 2 episodes later, they went ahead and they gave him a deal. If he just admits to being a traitor, and admits to treason, they're just gonna let him go to the wall. Like, at the same time, right. I would figure I'm dead already. Like, I would not give them that satisfaction. I'd be like, no, I did not commit treason. Like, he could have easily announced to the crowd, like, have you seen the color of Joffrey's hair?
Mm-hmm. Well, he was afraid for his daughter. That made him lose sense.
That's true.
That's what made him.
That's true. Although
buckle.
If he talked any moment to Sansa over the years,
he would have... Okay, that's good.
Dang, that's a good burn.
Maybe that's why Sansa turned out the way she did.
Oh, I love it.
Time.
Yep. So, I mean, you know what? With all this Ned talk, I'm not gonna lie. I was way sadder with Drogo.
Really?
I was very sad about that. I think that was very unexpected. That was like just, a roulette wheel of bad luck and crap happening, and not only that, but like Dany, like Daenerys had like
it was the sexiest man gone.
Oh my gosh, I know. It was so sad.
Like, how do you kill the sexy? I don't know.
It's so sad. I mean, like, there's Jon Snow and all, but he's not shirtless all the time. So sad, guys. And it was like, it was really rough too, because it was like, it was like defending Dany and like her choice to, not keep the slaves, and then he got in like a little scuff. He gets an infection from the scuff, and then like one of the slaves that she saves, saves him, quote unquote, and that like evil witch just doesn't even care that she showed her any kindness, and it's like, no. I'm like, yeah, sometimes better is dead. This is what you get, just like me. I would have been better dead. Like, you evil witch. Like,
yep, it's Daenerys's lesson in the big city too.
Yeah,
which is crazy, because hers is like out of left field. Like, that's a harsh one. Like, that's not, don't be stupid against your enemies, showing them all of your hands, not having any surprises, plus giving them like a week's warning. No, this was just like some evil witch being evil despite how kind you were. Like, oh, that's wicked, man. That's real sad.
Well, hold on a second. Hold on. So I will defend Bewitch for a little bit here.
I was about to. Oh.
You were about to?
No,
go ahead. Go ahead.
You do it.
I'm sure this comes with a lot more power coming from me than from you. But not at all. But no, seriously. I mean, if you put yourself in her shoes, most of the women in her town, her included, had been raped by the Dothraki several times.
Yep.
Their whole life, their town, was basically burned to the ground. You now have the wife of this great Khal who basically sent all the Dothraki there to, take slaves.
Yep.
They're gonna sell. And she's basically the one who saves you after being, again, raped several times.
Right.
I could sense just a wee little bit of animosity there. You know, so much as wanting to maybe have a negative impact on the storyline, especially since finding out that this wife is pregnant with this great cow leader's baby, who they are prophesizing is going to be the, what is it, the horse that's going to ride all over the world and take it over.
True, but here's the thing. That is so selfish, because if she didn't do that, like, they would have been the first, like, Dothraki that would have stopped doing all the pillaging and the raping and the keeping of the slaves. She could have totally changed that for all future. What was her plan? Have him die, then, like, his brother take over, and they'll go right back to that same crap, Stupid, selfish, petty, extra mean revenge, like specifically against the one person that actually showed you kindness.
Yeah, well,
hate her.
well, killing somebody's true love is very is very tough. Sesh. But no, I mean, honestly, I think, as I'll contrast it to Ned a little bit. She clearly saw herself as dead. Like, she figured she was dead anyway. What are they going to do? They're either going to sell her out as a sell her as a slave, or what? They're going to keep her along to witness more, rapings and pillagings and other things in the future. I think she viewed herself as dead. Like, she had nothing to gain, she had nothing to lose. And, like, even during her death scene where she's speaking, about how it doesn't even matter, and that she accepts the death because it was worth it to her.
She's seeing she's going out as a hero.
Exactly. That she did something about these Dothraki, who have always been basically a major plight on the land and the people who live there over the years. So I actually do I do understand where she's coming from a little bit. Could she have done something differently? Sure. But at the same time, I understand where she was coming from.
I mean, I can understand the feeling, because there was already so much terrible stuff that had already happened to her. However, I think it was all just very selfish. It wasn't big picture. It wasn't, oh, I'm going to stop this from happening to anyone else. No, it was literally just to get back kind of at, Daenerys, even though she was the one who had helped her. Like, all her venom was, like, towards her. She's like, oh, no, I want to take away these guys as leader. No, it's like, I don't care about this man. You love him? I don't care what you love. I don't care that you saved me. Like, that's literally, like, basically what she says to her. And I'm just like, oh, it wasn't long term. I think it was very selfish. I think it was understandable. I don't think it was a good idea to, like, keep her around at all. I mean, that's for sure. Like, are any of these people who did have all these horrible things happen to them, but like, they were alive, and she was, they were kept alive because of Dany. And I think, her lesson should have been to just get rid of her, just leave her there, just, let them give them a little money, a horse or two, and then just go, just like, hey, sorry about all of your families and villagers. And, like,
wow,
that would have been way better. You know what? They would have been alive. And you know what? From then on, Dany was going to stop that. Like, it was, that kind of stuff was going to stop with her, at the helm with Drogo.
Sorry about the rave. Here's a horse.
You can't really do much after the fact. It's terrible. Like, what was she gonna do after the fact? She kept her around, fed her and stuff, and look what happened.
If Witch was smart, she would have cast a spell to take Drogo, because he's sexy. Who kills Drogo?
I know, like, how
loves me now.
So evil. I can't. No, that was the saddest to me, because it was it was total betrayal. It wasn't, like Ned and Littlefinger, where he's like, oh, I paid the guards, but Absolutely not. Am I going to pay them to do your deeds? Like, like it's just not the same level, not even close.
I have a question. Who do you think has the purer soul, Daenerys or Ned? In terms of
Ned, 100%.
really?
Oh yeah.
See, I would say Daenerys.
I think it's kind of tough because I feel like Ned will do whatever the law is, even if it's not right.
But see, Daenerys was never taught a law. She's trying to discover what's right and wrong on her, like, up the ranks. And she's really trying to do the right thing, but she doesn't know what that is completely yet because she's growing up.
True, true. That's a very good question. It's tough. Like, I probably agree more with Daenerys though. Like, even because I mean we've had her for so much longer, and she's had to make so many more calls than we've seen Ned ever had to make.
That's
But
true.
I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, full answer if there'll ever be a prequel. And so we could really see some Ned stuff. But I suspect I'd probably pick Danny as well because Ned's a little bit too much by the book rather than specifically what's right, I'd say. Like I feel like there's just a few times like we see him kill the one crow and it's like, oh, you're a deserter. I guess that means you gotta die. Whereas I feel like Danny in that situation may have heard him out and, maybe it's just because she's more of a leader. So she's not going to be like, oh, I'm going to follow the law. She's going to be like, well, I don't like this law if it says I have to kill you. So begone with it.
One interesting thing is that while Danny did have enemies, the truth is that Ned Stark was almost universally liked. And we're talking about rival factions here. The Tyrells had respect for him. All of the houses of the North had respect for him.
That's
and
because
they
he didn't want any power.
That's right. But he also held what they thought was dear. He, in a time, and I will say this, if we're looking at the time period, unjustness, cruelty, everything like that was common. That was an everyday occurrence. And I think we learned later in some of the seasons. I think it was actually, I want to say it was a scene with Brienne. This was later on. I don't know. Are we doing spoilers here? I have no idea. But where Brienne came back to Winterfell in terms of trying to help Sansa out of her situation there later down the road, and she talked to one of the people who lived there in the North who knew Ned Stark. And he basically told her that he'll always remember him because he basically kept the raiders at bay. He kept the people who would kill and steal, away. He really protected and cared about the people. And when we hear about groups that would be his enemies, even the Lannisters, while they ended up killing him,
they didn't really want
they basically the one who didn't know him well.
Yeah, they did have respect for him. The Tyrells had respect for him.
Even Cersei didn't want him dead.
Yeah, even Dorne, they had respect for him. So it seemed like almost everybody had respect for Ned Stark. Really, the only one who didn't that I can think of was the Greyjoys. But the Greyjoys are the Greyjoys,
Right.
From the twins.
The twins.
Frey.
Yeah.
House Frey?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for obvious reasons though.
Yes.
And he was lacking in friends a bit. Anyway, sorry, back on track. I think I wasted 15 minutes of this show.
Don't worry. I think we will have a prequel one day and we'll have all the Ned stuff we've been missing already.
That would be pretty great.
Yeah, I heard it's in the works, but one season at a time. Let's see. Okay, this one's silly, and I think I've already answered funniest moments. Like for me, I just love Joffrey being slapped around by Tyrion so much. Like it's
That's mine too.
easy.
Oh, those moments when you just slap a child for being a child. It's good times for all. Good times for all.
Not a lot in depth in this season as far as that humor goes, but I'll never forget.
Well, you know what? Mine was a little different. It came basically when Tyrion was captured, or taken prisoner, I should say, by Catelyn, and they're walking up through the Erie, and basically Tyrion says to Bronn back then, and Bronn is excellent comic relief.
He's great.
Love him so much.
Yeah, he was one of my favorite characters too. I should say that.
Also one true love.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he basically told Bronn that the Erie was impenetrable, that it had never been taken in a war. And Bronn went ahead and gave a great one-liner, which was, "Give me 10 good men and some climbing spikes, and I'll impregnate the expletive deleted." Thank you. You're welcome, tubers. You're welcome.
Oh yeah, he's fantastic. He makes an impression very early on as well. Also, just like that perfect no nonsense but tough guy no nonsense. So perfectly the yin and the yang, him and Tyrion. I love it.
I know at the end of all this, he's gonna survive and have some kind of castle. I just don't know how it's all gonna work out.
He's gonna be like the king.
Probably. Like, I guess if I have to.
Placing bets. I know we should place bets at the end of every season.
Right?
Of who we thought were,
Oh, that's a good point. I don't even know if I was playing the game that much at this point, but I think at this point, when I was thinking who was going to end up with the crown at this point, you know what? I don't even remember what I was thinking.
We can get to that at the end of this.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, we'll come back around to that. That's a good ender, little cat to season 1 talk. All right. So I have another questionnaire in here that was the OMG shocking moment, which it could be different things. This was a question inspired probably by later seasons, but for me, this one, honestly, Danny's and her weird brother, he was just so weird and unsettling. I thought it was actually shocking that like he was more unsettling than like Cersei and Jaime.
He was the most unlikable character I think I've ever seen written in a show. I mean, even looking at later on Ramsay.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's true.
He had more substance than Viserys. I mean, Viserys was a terrible person.
Yeah, he was kind of very one-dimensional, like you say, just all bad. That's it.
He was awful. Like, I mean, I thought it was like shocking how bad he was, but it was really funny him like screeching, "I'm the dragon!" like all the
time. That was spot on impression. I don't know how they did not hire you for that role.
It was just inspired by. I was just inspired. Oh, just what a stupid quote. 2, the way he said it was always so funny.
and there was like giant creep factor like the whole time, constantly undressing, Daenerys, who I think at that point was what, like 13 in the storyline or
So
something like
sad.
that,
Yeah,
and,
it was so unsettling too, because it was.
basically
Ooh.
saying he's going to allow everybody to rape her if it'll gets him the throne, and it's like, you know what, I don't think you're exactly fit for the throne.
But he's a dragon. Oh yeah, like that was like just I think like for me that was like this question will be answered better later in other seasons, but that was a thing I definitely had to talk about since we only get it in season 1.
Yeah, so just so I'm clear, so you're saying the shocking was him as a character or his death?
His behavior, I think.
Yeah.
Like it was because he was, he was sheltered as well to a point, but he was also, his entire family was murdered and they were on the run, and like I don't know how he just
Maintains his entitlement.
Yeah, like I mean, I guess he was crazy. I guess that was it, but it was like it was shocking behavior. Like I mean, we see stuff like similar from Joffrey later on, but man, it was yeah, it was. I'm shocked he's just a character.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I
Yeah.
think that's fair.
And like so close to Danny too, but like just somehow, the craziness just bypassed her for now at least. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
For
it's shocking. It's shocking that they're related.
it is. It is. Although
I mean, maybe that's why they made him so bad, to make her look better, or to kind of make us like her before we see anything that she does.
I didn't like her though, season 1. I didn't. I thought she was a very, very vanilla character. I thought she was.
Is it because she was white?
Yeah, clearly,
white hair?
clearly.
Extra.
No, she was.
Maria.
Boy. Well, we have now lost our other 25% of viewers. This is going well. Shut it off immediately. Turn off the lights. Time to go home. But no, she was so vanilla. She was so bland. And it seemed like for the most part she couldn't make a decision on her own. I know it sounds weird
she was
saying
14.
that.
I mean,
She was, but which is unfair in terms of judging her in terms of the situation, especially everything that entailed. That said, I don't know. For me, I was never quite on board early with the whole Daenerys is awesome train. I'm like, oh, she's a character. I think part of it was her interaction with Viserys. Like every minute that was on screen was like a minute away from something better, in my opinion.
like Sansa.
No. That all you are freaking it today, Maria. I gotta tell you.
Like I mean, okay. So I mean, I agree with you there. Like I wasn't, team her till later. Like I've been rewatching, so like I could definitely pinpoint it's season 3 when I start giving any craps about her. Really, like I just like first 2 seasons she was just she still was coming into her own. Like I like her now, definitely. Like by like season 3, I'm like, okay, cool, yeah, here we go. But like the first 2 seasons, it's very much like her going with like the ebbs and flows of things, and she's having her moments of strength, but it wasn't enough yet for me to like really love her.
Well, I think that's what makes it more powerful to see her arc change, to see her grow.
Oh yeah.
Where she has like 20 names and all of this stuff. It's like, because you see she came from basically as a nameless kind of a person.
Yeah. Like I think, yeah, like she definitely starts, like he says, like super vanilla, nameless, not really anything special, and everything else around her is kind of more interesting than she is. But then like she grows into being the leader and like the the spearhead of like everything interesting and awesome about her entire story and everything around her.
Yeah, really, really, I thought I agree with that. And I think where I'm coming from, season one, I really felt that almost she was written in such that HBO got to the appropriate nudity percentage in the show because she was naked like the whole show. I sort of forgot about
It was
that.
a lot.
Like as the seasons went on, and I think actually Maria, you were telling me about that too. You were like, isn't she the one who's always naked on screen? And I'm like, I don't think so. I'm like, no, no,
Go
no.
back.
I don't think so.
Yes, it is.
And then I rewatched season one. I really think like they didn't even necessarily have a clothing designer for her. Like she'd show up, to the set, and she was probably,
To show up ready, literally.
wearing some robe or like really nice pajamas,
Oh,
and she'd be like, "Are you sure I'm supposed to be naked for like this whole season? What if I'm wearing this?" And they're like, "Oh, you have a point. Maybe I guess you should wear something to start the scene." And then like 1 minute later, not even.
Yeah. Yeah, it was watching the early seasons. It's like so funny how gratuitous like everything is, and like one of my favorite like skit bits was like, okay, we're making Game of Thrones season whatever. We really need some insight to make the fans like the show more. And the whole bit is that they have this executive producer who's like a 15-year-old boy. It's so great. It's genius. It's like more boobs. It's literally just the whole like first few seasons of the show is him just adding his input, and that's always the input. So funny. But yeah, okay. So let's see. Did you guys have like, other like shocking moments for this, or if not, like we can get on to the next question.
Oh yeah. No, for me, my shocking moment actually came in the very first episode.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of people would go ahead and say the Ned beheading was shocking, but I was not shocked by that. What I was shocked by was Bran being thrown out a window. I mean, that was the end of episode one. You don't know anything about the show to begin with. You're going ahead and watching it, and you see all these weird characters, and you see a 10-year-old boy who likes climbing, and he goes ahead and he gets thrown out a window. And I'm like,
hardcore.
wow, this show, it just does not give a damn. No.
See, that's how I knew Ned was gonna be dead. I was like, wait, guys, do you remember episode 1? Come on, who's shocked at Ned?
Yeah. I mean, no, it's true. I mean, Ned being killed, that was one of the least surprising things, honestly, in season one. I mean, Drogo dying, that was weird. I didn't expect that happening, especially how it happened. Viserys, the way he died, that I wouldn't call as shocking that he died more than the disturbing manner in which he died.
That was great. I love that. How he should go.
And oh wow. He did sort of deserve it though. He did.
Really did.
I mean, if you're gonna pour hot metal on someone, that's who you do it. That's who you do it. Yeah.
Crown. That's what you wanted.
Perfect. Okay, Maria, what about you?
I was surprised by Ned's decapitation. I was, because I just didn't believe they would get rid of him that soon. I thought maybe later, but not that fast. Because he's such a main character. They spent so much time developing him.
Yeah.
No, it's a good point. Yeah, the other ones who we lost, it's like, oh, okay, more like cursory characters. He was a main character. He was the first person for the most part, aside from the guy running out of the woods that you saw in the show.
Yeah.
So
yeah, like he was one of like those storylines that we would jump to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know, since there were so many storylines that we were jumping to, I wasn't super, super shocked that one was eliminated.
Yeah.
Especially since like his had like so many repercussions for the story. So there was like so many places for it to go afterwards. Like, who watches season 1 and then doesn't watch season 2?
Truth. You have to see what happens.
Yeah, like, oh, it changes so much. Okay. So, what was for you guys some of the most exciting like plot elements introduced?
So for me, it really was the first episode, the mystery of what moved those bodies, how they were, laid out in the snow, what kind of creature is involved. Is there a bigger reason for what they're doing? How soon are they going to destroy people? Like that was exciting. That was like, wow, something big is happening. Then they kind of drop it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that one. For me, the probably the most exciting plot element was just the willingness to kill off main characters, which was brought up with Ned. Common in shows, even if you have cursory people dying, you don't kill off your main characters. You just don't do it. You keep them around, and they find their way out of things. So that whole season basically taught me that in this show, everybody is completely dispensable. There's a few where it's like, I think I remember after season 1, I was like, if they kill Tyrion, I think I'm done watching this show.
Oh yeah,
I felt that so many times.
I did.
I felt that. Oh, I feel that still.
Yeah. So
I'll quit now. Whatever episode, if they do that, I'm like, oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm straight out. So
and I really wanted to see the end of this, but that's just nope, not gonna happen now.
One thing that was shocking for me was Cersei's character showing how evil yet feeling she was. Like she would use honest feelings in evil ways. Which
so manipulative.
I think I've seen that so much, at least in women in TV, in movies.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I think usually when they tend to write female characters and they make them evil female characters,
They're
tend to really
wicked. They're just all wicked.
Yeah, they tend to simplify them.
Yeah,
like really
very much. Yeah, like it's always really simple, and it's always just everything's a lie,
Yeah.
Yeah, and for her it's more deep rooted. And watching all of the seasons, I think that's very much the case there in terms of it's hard to figure out with her what is from her background that's causing her to have the mindset and actions that she is versus who is she actually as a person. And I do like that because there is more complexity with her actions. You can look at it and say, oh, based on the things she had happened in her life, I can understand why she might do some of the things she does. Yet at the same time, it's almost like she put herself in some of those situations to begin with.
Yeah, I really think that even though she says, "Oh, I love my kids, anything for my kids," that's all my whole motivation. Oh my gosh. I think really she resents having these kids. I think she really I think she wants to be the king. She wants to be finally important. She doesn't want to be a woman. She wants to be the man in charge and to be seen as the important one.
I mean,
and I think she likes anybody else to be seen that way.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Her in like the latest seasons is I mean, she's striding, like she's showing it well, like all the stuff that happens to her and all the kids that are gone. She's taking it really, really well.
Right? I really don't. I think, yeah, and it makes me think, you know what? she acts like it was a big act, like, oh my God, my kids, but she knew from the beginning. I guess it's a spoiler, but she knew from that witch woman, what was her name?
Maggie the Frog.
Maggie the Frog, that they were going to end up
dead.
Gone.
Yeah. I mean, I will say she does honestly love her kids. You can see that.
I
She
think
does.
To death.
But she loves herself more.
That's right.
She loves herself way more. And I think her kids are actually part of that. I mean, if you want to go deeper, in this world, a woman's power for the most part is in her offspring.
But I think she was tired of that.
And no, I agree she was tired of it.
Yeah.
Yet at the same time, she she wanted that power. She got power through her kids. She used her kids for that power. And it was somewhat of a self-fulfilling prophecy in a lot of the ways. If she didn't do the things that she did, there'd be a much different outcome probably in terms of how her kids ended up and where she'd even be with everything. So
yeah.
Anyway, deep character. I like it. Good job.
Yeah, I mean,
this is why we bring you on the show.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not fired yet. That's
oh, you bring the insight. You know, that's where director and screenwriter comes from.
Thanks, Pete.
Oh, this is adorable.
We lost our one remaining viewer.
Bye.
Oh, man. Sorry, Mom. Sorry.
Oh, let's see. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, that was an awesome tangent. I like it. It's an interesting theory, and I think like I said, these current seasons definitely show that might be true. She's kind of free of all these burdens of love, and she's thriving. But yeah, so the most exciting plot element introduced, like for me, like personally, I'm hooked immediately with zombies. So that's a huge thing. Like, oh, fantasy and zombies. Oh, I'm in. Okay, I'll sit down and watch this. And then like by the end of the season, like, okay, I was not expecting actual dragons. Like, not at all. Like legit. I wasn't expecting any of that. Like holy crap. Like I thought that was just such a fantastic element to like actually add, and that had so many more implications like down the line, and like, oh my gosh, they do exist, they're not dead, she is the mother of dragons, this was all really meant to be, like, wow, woo, it's so cool. They had me like hooked. Like first episode zombies, I was like, oh, that's cool. And then by the end, dragons, like, whoa, what are they gonna do with those?
So, speaking of, did you have a favorite scene from season 1? Because this sort of aligns right with that.
Yeah, I mean that was a very, very good ending. Like that was huge. Let me see. I have a couple of more notes down here, like my little overview where I know I pull out a couple of little bits of awesomeness. So I'm gonna read that while you answer the question first.
Excellent. That is what I'm here for. The only reason I asked is because you reminded me. Those opening shots of the first episode when it came to the zombies, the White Walkers at the time, I just loved the shot of the horse heads arranged in a spiral. I can't explain why.
No, it was cool.
I thought it was amazing. It looked unique. It looked like something that clearly took a lot of thought and that you don't normally see again in these type of shows, showing that this wasn't your typical zombie type appearance, but that there is some sort of intelligence behind this.
Yeah.
and reasoning. And I thought it was really cool. The whole entire shot, though, taken with the with running through the snow and the creepy little girl getting up, and I did. I thought it was amazing.
Yeah, like it definitely added that element. Like, wait, are these like smart zombies? This is weird, but like it just being like the fantasy setting is just so interesting. I did see one. I do have my notes here, and there were a couple of ones that I had. I think I had taken note of what might have been my favorite episode in the season. I don't think I'm gonna, do that often because the episodes are so split up between the storylines. But I think episode 4 might have been my favorite. It's when Tyrion gives Bran the plans for the saddle.
Aww.
So I know, right? And then Sam and John become friends. Dany stands up to her brother. We meet Gondry. I think Tyrion and his buddy Bronn are immediately like amusing together. I think this might be where he comes into play. Maybe the episode before. And I love when like smart asses find each other.
Aww.
It's an instant kind of kinship, and like there's all this stuff happening in this episode. Like it just shows so much. Like Tyrion giving Bran the saddle, I think is huge, and it just shows that it shows more than like everything that we've seen from him, that he's just like practically very smart too, because we've seen him, whippy and quick and that kind of thing, but we haven't seen it like really put to like a practical use that early on, until he's the hand later. So it just shows that it was just there's kindness, there's real kindness there, and these real friendships.
Aww. It's a good contrast from the rapey stuff and.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Oh no, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I guess my favorite scene was with Catelyn when that man comes in to attack and kill Bran.
Ooh.
I kind of wasn't expecting her to really fight off that hard with, she's just gripping that knife and it's like, wow, that's a mother's love right there. And that's a northern woman's love. I like that. And I was waiting for the wolf to do something. I think the wolf was probably my favorite. The wolves were my favorite characters, and I was waiting for their action. So seeing him come in and just rip that guy apart was really nice.
So nice.
I was pleased.
I was too. And did you have one?
Oh, me?
Mm-hmm. You.
I think I already said it, which was the opening
Oh,
shot
yeah.
with the zombie
you
heads
did,
in a
you did.
spiral. Don't
You
worry,
did.
I'm very forgettable on this
Horses.
program.
Oh, no.
Hey, I have, fever brain right now, leftovers from the flu going on.
That's
Sounds
true.
like
I do feel you. But as I said in the intro, I'm a lot like Ned Stark. Leave your RIPs in comments, everybody.
There was one other thing I had noticed just while watching this. I thought it was really funny, especially like as we've seen the storylines and who ends up being important and everything. So I was noticing how the Dothraki a lot of the time say it is known. And I hadn't really realized that before, especially as like a really fun contrast to Jon Knows Nothing.
Oh, that's so funny.
Oh.
Right? It is known.
Interesting.
It is known.
He really.
They do say that.
They
a
do,
lot,
yeah. He really does know nothing.
He really doesn't.
What's frustrating is nobody says anything after that. Oh, you know nothing, Jon Snow, and then that's it. I don't know.
Because if they said anything else, they know
He
it would
can't
just
know
go
anything.
straight through one ear and out the other. It's like talking to a puppy who just sort of stares at you and like.
Honestly, I don't know if it even gets through to the ear with the hair.
Oh, that's funny.
But yeah, like I just had noticed that, and it was standing out just because now I've seen more of the show, and so I see all the tags, the catchphrases that are used so much later on. But the Dothraki, we really get them the most in the season 1, and that was one of those things they were just saying all the time. It stood out to me.
Yeah, that's interesting. I never connected it. I never would have That's so funny.
Yeah, that is cool that you noticed it. I definitely never noticed it.
It's all the writing. Like he knows everything. He's
Hmm.
he's definitely very, 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 very deep into this world.
Intriguing.
Right? I thought I was curious.
It is. I wonder what else the Dothraki know.
That's funny. Okay, so then back to what we thought would be a really fun question at the end of each season. So Ned's dead. Who do you think's gonna win Game of Thrones at the end of everything by the end of season 1?
By the end of season 1, definitely Daenerys. She has dragons.
Ooh.
For me, at this point, I mean, I was super ambivalent about first season. So I was on team White Walkers, but I actually thought that the person who would wind up on the throne would either be Varys or Littlefinger.
Ooh, interesting. Yeah, I think I might have been thinking it was either going to be, I was thinking probably Arya, like really reluctant, didn't want the royalty, didn't want any of that. And it felt that, like, with Ned being dead, but like, oh, it had to be like, one of his relatives. That's who definitely had to have it because that's, the big thing that happens at the end of this season. So that's, come full circle to him being dead to whatever the end of this series would have been. That was kind of my guess at the time that it might have been her because I knew it was going to, go on for a very, very long time. So I suspected it would have been her just because she's not the little princess one. She's, not one of the boys, which it was already kind of indicating. And it would have been very reluctant, much like Ned would have, held power.
But Dragon Hagar is really Syrio, who's really Ned Stark. So Ned's going to be on the throne.
So pure spoilers to the half a person we have listening right now. But yeah, the cat, exactly. Who's quickly moving away. But really, I would love to see a reanimated Ned Stark next season. I would love to see that. Like, no question. I think that would be the most awesome thing in the world. And I would give him the throne right there. I would build a throne for him that he can sit in, while killing people. That's right. That's right. And he's just holding his head the whole time,
Would Rob be back then too, or no?
Oh, forget Rob.
Oh, Catelyn? What about Catelyn?
Oh, Catelyn has to be back. Right. She asked about Catelyn.
Oh, well, she should be back. It's interesting because in the book, I don't know if we even covered this last episode, but in the book,
we could talk about it later. There is more seasons.
Oh, that's a good point. We probably should talk about that one in a later season.
Sure.
Yeah, it makes sense to talk about that one in a later season.
Ooh.
Just in case, for some reason, people are listening to this podcast and we're like, you know what? I'm not going to watch the show. I'm just going to listen to these people talk about it.
Bleep out all the spoilers.
Oh, later on.
Yeah, just bleep.
Make you know what? You make two versions. You keep this one as the raw, uncut version, and the other is the spoiler-free version. Double viewership. Yeah.
That's not a bad plan. But yeah, I thought it was okay. So I mean, if Ned comes back, not spoiling anything for the future. I'm just saying, I'm just only going to read the books that are these seasons for the books that haven't been released yet. Like last season was, we haven't had that book yet. I'll start there and then I'll just keep reading and I'm done with the show. That's all I'll say. Ned is dead. Ned is dead.
Oh, well.
Oh, okay, fine. Now I feel bad for chanting.
We almost cheered in. Almost.
Uh,
All right. So is that our season 1 discussion? Are we done?
I mean, Cyril Farrell is definitely alive.
Yes.
We can talk about that. He's definitely alive. I believe it.
They never showed him die.
They did never show him die. I don't
We'll
know.
see him as him again. We might.
That would be pretty cool if we saw him again. I'd be down with that.
I'd be
if
so
he's
happy.
if he's just dancing his heart out. What if he's the waif?
The waif? Who are you talking about?
Total spoiler alert, but the waif and the one who Arya trained with under Jaqen.
Oh no, that woman had too much hate.
Yeah, it was a weird lady.
Yeah,
I got a lot of weird theories. I think there's going to be a lot of.
It would be interesting to find out who she really is, because there was more personal. It was more personal, I feel. She really didn't like her. I don't know if it was out of jealousy or what.
I thought it was jealousy, but I'm a simple man.
I mean, I think you're right.
It's weird.
Yeah, good question.
Like, she really wanted to kill her, even though they're supposed to both be learning and in this,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm really worried about a lot of how that played out. Like, even just Arya leaving, like, I suspect there's gonna be like some repercussions down the road, because things always have repercussions in his writing.
There is, although really, man, we are skipping way ahead. Like, we are ruining good conversation for later on. But
stop recording.
Yeah, stop it. Yeah, exactly. But no, Jaqen Hagar in general, at least from what I saw, he didn't seem to really like the waif that much.
No, he didn't.
Like more like she trained up. Like, she takes everything seriously. She wants to be the person. But I think he more liked Arya's personality in terms of who she was. There were times where, for example, he rewarded her for saving a life. But he said that the balance has to be maintained. To save a life, you take a life. And to me, at least, the waif seemed far more interested in taking lives than saving them. And I think one of the unique parts of Arya is that even though she has, severe hatred for certain people, she still has a part of her that still feels. And I don't know. I think that the waif could see it immediately too, in that this new girl who was picked up and who's training, that she is clearly more of a favorite and more destined to move upwards than I am. And I think she really resented her. So
for me, there's like 3 or 4 things that have me very concerned. One is, like, speaking of people we didn't see die, 2, I think absolutely everything was all a test. Both of them were possibly being tested, and having each other as like a counter to, just who they are, and just to add more conflict just for each of them and their challenges. And just, I think there were tons of little issues like that. I think Arya leaving, I think I still hold a grain of salt that, like, maybe it wasn't even Arya that left.
Oh, like, come on! It was. I know.
It had to have been, because she did things that only Arya would have done after. Made no, like, not just no sense for her to do, but that there was no reason for her to do. She didn't, need to do certain things. Like, there was things that outside of her realm. So there's, there's all of that. But at the same time, like, we didn't see anyone die. So I don't know if that other girl is dead yet either. I almost think that we're gonna, what I think? I think the the faceless assassins, they're gonna win, they're gonna get the crown, and they're gonna kill everyone. And we're gonna be all super surprised by it.
if
Where did these assassins come from is what I want to know. What's their origin and how did they become? No. I'm saying how did they develop?
Oh, that's a good question. They said that they get their power from the what is it? The faceless god? Yeah. So the god of death who comes for everyone.
I mean, Lord of Light or the god of death. I mean,
yeah.
That's that's the true battle at the end.
But they did show her face skinned with the other faces. That to me is dead.
They did.
I don't think you can fake a skinned face.
I think they can. There was I don't know if you can call it like a hallucination or what, but there was when Arya saw her own face.
Oh, yeah.
I think they could do live faces too. That's why I'm like a little concerned because she basically, like she ditched this like assassin group. Assassination.
You can't leave the gang.
Right. That's what I'm worried about. Like you can't leave the gang. Like there's gonna be something that comes up where they're like, you do not cheat the god of death. You do not betray the god. Like just something where like,
But Jagan Hagar seems so happy. He was just like, oh, go on, little flowering rosebud and kill.
Maybe it was a test, and maybe that was her passing it, possibly, but we didn't die, so like maybe there's another little assassin out there that's like real mad. I don't know.
Speaking of tests, we'll see. I think all of these the different gods of the different peoples are doing tests on the various people. I think the faceless god, I think the Lord of Light, I think there is a big kind of like not only the Game of Thrones for the seat, but also for who's worthy of new civilization. I think each god is kind of doing its own little test. It's what it seems like.
I like it. Yeah.
Bringing it.
Yeah.
When I get real tired, that's when the good stuff.
That's when the good stuff comes out. Yeah. All right. Well, that was your season 5 preview. Bonus content for everybody still listening. That includes you, Sir Pounce. So is it outro time?
Oh yes, take it away, Jonathan.
Take it away.
Yes, quite.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us on Dames of Thrones. Not to be sued for copyright by Game of Thrones. Dames of Thrones, featuring Sesh, Maria, and myself, Jonathan. Now, please, if you like this content, you want to hear more content, it's coming. Just share, like, subscribe, you little tubers out there. I actually have not read the comments to see if you actually appreciate being called that, but we'll do it in the future. I promise. Probably not at all.
I'm gonna say no. But
no. Yeah. Anyway, it has been an absolute pleasure, and see you next time on Dames of Thrones.